Baruchim Abayim Rabotai, welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Let's learn an incident in the Torah that every child learns in preschool. Let's see what it means to us. The Torah talks about Avraham Avinu and his nephew Lot, which get into a situation that Avraham splits his contact with Lot. He tells him, Ima smol ve'imina, ima yamin va'smeila. But he tells them in a nice way, he doesn't threaten him. He tells him, Kol haaretz lefanecha, the whole land is in front of you. Hipared na me'alai, separate from me, we shouldn't live together anymore. Ima smol ve'imina, if you want to go, choose the left way, meaning go one way, so I'll go to the right. Meaning let's separate territories. Let's not live in the same territory anymore. Why was it like that? Rashi brings down a Chazal that Avraham at that time realized that Lot was a bad influence for those who surround him, and maybe for him himself as well. That could be discussed. As a result of the fact that Lot wasn't Nizar B'Gezel, he allowed his animals to graze in people's fields that he didn't own. With the rationale, he wasn't a thief, God forbid. He had a rational case. He said, God told Avraham that he's going to give him the whole land. So really, the whole of Israel belongs to him. He has no children. So who's going to inherit him? I'm going to inherit him. So really, the whole Israel's mine. If that's the case, my animals can eat anywhere. It doesn't make a difference where they eat. Makes sense, no? It's a pretty rational case he had there. But al pi halacha, that's not true. Even if something's going to become yours, if it's not yours now, you can't touch it. Halacha goes, by the way, even further. There's a sugya in Masechet Bava Metzia that's called Yi'ush Shelo Midat. I'm not going to go into what that sugya specifically is talking about, but I'm going to show you a practical implication today where there's a halacha discussion. I'm not giving you the halacha l'maaseh end of it, just the theory that we could see that sometimes we don't think about simple things that could be serious. And here's the example. Let's say you and I are best friends. And not only are we best friends, you even gave me keys to your car. And you gave me permission to use your car. Whenever you want, you have a key, the spare key. My car's sitting in the driveway anyway, I don't use it, come use my car. One day I need a car. I can walk over to your house, I have a key, the car's there. More than that, I call you, I say, sure, you don't need it today, I can use the car. No problem, go right ahead, my pleasure. I take the car. I'm driving a couple of blocks down, it's allergy season, I need to use a tissue. I don't have tissues on me. On the floor, on the seat, there's a box of tissues. What's any normal person going to do in such a situation? Stick his hand out, take a tissue, and use it. But wait a minute. You gave me permission to use your car. You didn't give me permission to use your tissue box. Stealing. But what's the counterattack on that? That if I would have told you I'm using a tissue, you obviously would have said, yeah, if you're willing to let me use your car and your gas and your Easy Pass, so the quarter of a cent for sure you would let. So that the Gemara calls Yi'ush Shelo Midat. That means technically we know for sure that the person agrees, but he never actually said it. He never actually gave the permission. So are you allowed to utilize that thing, or you're not allowed to utilize the thing? In halakha, there's a big discussion what you do in a situation like that. It's not so simple. But I could tell you a Maaseh Rav, an unbelievable story. I once took one of the great Gedolei Israel, Avdon Segal Shlit, Hashem send him Fuash Lema. I gave him a ride from Brooklyn to Lakewood. And he was in the car, and he wanted to drink water. And I pulled out a water bottle from the back of the car, like in the back seat that was sitting there, and I gave it to him, and I said, Rabbi, drink. And he said, no, I'm not going to drink. Then I thought maybe he doesn't drink without a cup. I said, I'll stop, I'll get you a cup. So he said, no, if you really want it, is the water yours? I said, it's my brother's, whatever, it's my brother's car. I was using his car that day. He said, yeah, I suspected that because I know your car and it didn't look like your car. He said, I can't drink your brother's water. He didn't give me permission. I said, Rabbi, if my brother would hear this, he would be angry at me for the rest of his life. The rabbi was in the car, wanted to drink, didn't drink because it's his. He said, that we don't know for sure, you got to call him. He made me call my brother on speakerphone and tell him the rabbi's in the car and he's very thirsty and there's a bottle of water, could he drink from the bottle of water? And until he didn't hear with his own ears that he said, yeah, it's fine, and he could drink from the bottle of water, he wouldn't do it. It was out of the question, man. Now, I'm not saying that's halakha l'maaseh, I don't know. But you see that how cautious the tzaddikim were when it came to somebody else's money. Now, if that's the case, then let's take it a step further. Avraham Avinu, tzaddik yisod olam, the first of our forefathers. Of course, he was cautious when it came to Gezel to an extreme. He sees his nephew not being cautious. He didn't want to get influenced in a negative way to be able to be negligent when it comes to how cautious you have to be with something else. Somebody else's money. And therefore he decides he's parting ways. That was the grounds to part ways based on the simple understanding of the Psukim and the Chazal. Where do we see the implications of this that have to do with us in life? So listen to an amazing thing. In the Sefer Avot de Rabbi Natan, in the 30th chapter, Perek Lamed, in Halakha Gimel, it says over there like this: Rabbi Akiva said, Kol hamidabek be'ovrei avera, somebody who stays close to those who are sinners, Af al pi shelo asa kema'asehem, even though he never did what they did, he stayed righteous. But he was friends with a bunch of sinners. Comes the Avot Rabbi Natan, the Braita, and says, this is a little bit scary, forgive me. Harehu mikabel puranut kayotze bahem. He's going to end up getting into trouble just like them. He's going to have the same punishment as them. This guy's a tzaddik, never did anything wrong. But his crowd, his friends, are the shayim. Comes the Avot Rabbi Natan and says, you make your crowd one type, you're guilty by association. This is a very, very great lesson in life. I titled tonight's class, Destination, Please. In order to be a successful individual, both spiritually and lahavdil materialistically, you have to pick the destination of where you dwell, meaning where you spend your downtime, and what type of people do you surround yourself by. Do you surround yourself by those who are doing better than you? Or do you surround yourself by those who are doing a lot less than you? When you surround yourself by successful people, it's just a matter of time. You'll be successful beyond your capabilities even. And when you surround yourself by failures, you'll be a failure. And you'll probably end up being a bigger failure. It's not for nothing that there was an old wise quote. It's argued historically who gets the credit for it. But it goes back over 1700 years, that's for sure. We know that from historic documents. It says, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. And there's so much truth to that. Who do you surround yourself with? Come Chazal HaKadoshim and say, Rabbi Akiva teaches us, if you middabek b'osei avera, you stay glued to those who do avera, even if you didn't do the avera. At the end, you're going to end up being part of them, because that's who your friends were. That's where you want to belong. But now listen to the positive side. So that was a little scary, right? A negative, I don't like that. But the truth has to be told, so we have no choice, so we say it. But here's what I really want to push. If you glue yourself to those who are righteous, who do mitzvot, even though you yourself never did a mitzvah, you didn't do any mitzvot. But you're friends with people that did mitzvot. Hareize mikabel sachar kayotze bazeh. After 120 in Shamayim, they're going to put you in Gan Eden together with these tzaddikim. It's an amazing thing. Amazing thing. I once went to one of the great rabbis in Israel who's no longer alive, a great Rosh Yeshiva. And I told him, Rabbi, I'm in Israel now for a week. I was there for business reasons. And I have a lot of downtime. Because 5 p.m. the day's over. From 5 p.m. until whatever, 2, 3 a.m. when I go to sleep. I have downtime. I want you to do me a favor. I know at night you go say shiurim in different places. Let me be your driver. I said, Chacham, don't worry. I rented the most luxurious car in the whole country. It'll be comfortable for you too. So he tells me, why would I use a yeshiva boy as a driver and that? It's fine, I have some guy who drives me, I said, no, I'm not doing you a favor. You're doing me a favor. So he said, what's your rationale in that? He said, if the reason is because you want to chew my ear off the whole time when you're in the car to talk to me, I need quiet when I'm in the car. Sometimes people do that to me. They say, I'll give you a ride somewhere. That ride I'd rather forego. From the beginning of the ride to the end, I had to hear all the problems of the world at once. So the 5 minutes that I would have had quiet in the 24 hours, even that was taken away. Baruch Hashem, it's chesed, but... So he told me openly, he says, if you want to chew my ear off, I said, Rabbi, I'm willing to make you a deal. Ta'anit dibur. Not uttering a word. Not the good, not the bad, nothing. Not one word. So he tells me, Yaakov, I know you for a lot of years. I taught you when you were a teenager. You're a calculated guy. You always have something up your sleeve. That's it. You came to Israel to work and now you want to be a driver? It doesn't make sense. Well, I told Chacham, B'mchilat kvodcha, I feel bad, but I have to show you what it says in Avot Rabbi Natan. And I quoted him. I brought him this Avita, which he knew, of course, better than me 100 times over. I said, you teach Torah to the masses. On an average day, 300-400 people listen to you live, plus in recordings and in books and whatever, probably 10,000. I don't know. There's no way to know what number. Your chesed is in the masses because you're an influential person. The amount of Talmidei Chachamim that you built in the yeshiva, there's no way to count. Those people are also teaching Torah. So it's in multiples. Meaning you have, let's say, 1,000 students that became big Talmidei Chachamim over the years. Each one is teaching another 100 or whatever. So you got millions of hours of Torah to your credit every single day. I said, I'll never get that out of my life, realistically. But after 120, I want to sit near you. You were my Rebbe when I was 16. I want to be able to be near you when I'm older. When I'm dead. I said, I only got one way to do it. Here, I'm in Israel for a week. I'll be mitdabek be'oseh mitzvah. I'll be glued to you. I'll be a driver every extra minute I have. I'll stick glued to you every extra minute I have. And then I'm going to get sachar k'ma'asehem. When I come to Olam HaEmet, I'll be able to sit near you in Gan Eden. It's a good investment. So he looks at me and he tells me, now you put me in a tough spot. Because if I tell you yes, that means I conceded to the fact that I'm an oseh mitzvah. And that's arrogant. It's ga'ava. I can't do that. If I say no, I disappointed you. I can't disappoint the Jew. So I don't know what to do. So I told him, Rabbi, I thought you were going to tell me that. I have an answer for that too. So I said, what? So he says, what? I said, in your mind, you're humble, you're nothing, and whatever. We'll agree to that. But in my illusion, you are something. So it's chesed to give me what I think is important. So it's a charitable act. Give me charity. He smiled, he said, fine. Probably the best week of my life, by the way. Spent a lot of time with him. I drove him different places, whatever. And then it was interesting. Less than a year later, he passed away. So it was like, I got the opportunity to... I remember, for example, with my Rebbe, Zechat Tzadik Livracha, there was, he had tens of thousands of students. But there was, let's say, about 8 of us that were considered like the closest students to him. And we used to fight, literally fight between us. We had a WhatsApp group and we would go head to head with harsh words sometimes even. And who's driving him to Miron? There were a few times a year that he used to go to Miron. Like Ba'omer, the first night of Slichot, whatever. In the summer, it was a war. There was no, it got to a point that it was out of control. There was one year like Ba'omer that the rabbi heard about the fight. And he said, my students are fighting. He said, I have an idea. So I said, what's the idea? He said, one guy will drive the way there, one guy will drive the way back. I said, yeah, but there's 8 of us. So he said, you know what? From Yerushalayim until Gvish 6, one guy will drive. From Gvish 6 till there, you split up the ride in a few. That was a Shlomo with his, sweet way of doing things. But in reality, what were we fighting about? We were fighting about the zchut to be glued to oseh mitzvah, to somebody who built the next generation of Am Yisrael, who kept all our Jewish teens healthy psychologically and learning Torah ba'amal. It was the opportunity to be able to be next to a person like that. And we didn't do this out of being such generous people. We did it out of selfish reasons. Notel sachar k'ma'asehem. It's unreal. And if it says this in Avot Rabbi Natan, it's not a parable. It's not an exaggeration. It's not some story in a speech that was made up on the spot. It's literal. That means after 120 in Shamayim, they're going to go and give the person reward for those tzaddikim that he went and glued himself to and spent time with. Happens to be when you spend time with tzaddikim, you also learn from them. And you also learn what not to be from them. And you gain yourself on a personal level a whole great amount too. But it comes from the same thing, association. HaKadosh Baruch Hu judges a person not only based on his actions, but primarily based on who he associates with. But from this we have to learn a great lesson. We should never know. We don't want to talk about Am Yisrael, so we'll say this on the Goyim. There are many people that are evil in this world. Many people. They come with agendas and things and crazy ideas, and they really have evil things going on. And I don't know if it's entertaining to be around them, or if they're considered cool, or it's the hip movement right now, or whatever it is. But to be associated with people like that is sacrificing your olam haba, literally. You could be the biggest tzaddik, and Hashem says, "This is who you're associated with. This was your crowd. This was your people. What are you doing? Why?" Where else is this very applicable? Shidduchim. Sometimes you go to a guy and you say, "I have a girl for you." Good idea. Everything, all the checks fit. The box works perfectly. And he says, "No, I don't want to go out with her." I said, "Why not? What's the excuse this time? What's here?" "She's too religious for me." I deal with a lot of boys every week. I don't want to tell you how many times a week I hear that stupidity. Too religious for me. So, number one, my real answer to that is that gravity always works. Meaning, to become less religious, unfortunately, happens too frequently. To become more religious almost never happens. So you're a lot better off starting with somebody who's more religious than you than less religious than you. By the way, you should think about that, boys. But besides for that, I said, and therefore what? What's the problem with that? I need somebody on my level. I said, okay, so describe me what your level is. And over 6,000 boys that I spoke to about these subjects over the years, never one was able to describe me a level. So obviously there's no such thing. Because there is no level. Spirituality is eternal. So by definition, there can't be a level. Okay. Then I tell them, okay, you don't want to, she's too religious for you? I agree. You know what? I agree. I'd play devil's advocate. I have another idea for you. And I go to the opposite extreme. I pick some character who's known to be like a mass murderer or a shady, I don't know what. So that lady, she'll go out with you. What are you, crazy? I said, so the one whose dad is not good, the other one is not good. So what do we have to do, clone you? Then that's also not good. So what's left? So we had options. Okay, so let's say you don't want to get married, you want to stay single forever. But at least stop complaining and blaming God. If somebody told you that they had an idea for a soulmate for you that was on a higher spiritual level and you grab it, that should be your happiest day in your life. Dance, sing all day. What could be better? I have somebody who's going to lift me up. My uncle Rabbi Nisim Zechet Tzadik Kadosh Livracha, he used to always say over, he had a next door neighbor who had a daughter who was considered a very prestigious girl in the Beis Yaakov circles. And when she got married, he said he got the shock of his life. She saw the husband. Yeah, he's not so frum, whatever, doesn't know Torah, doesn't, like nothing there. It didn't make sense to him. But he's not going to say anything, right? It's not his business. But he said, whatever, it is what it is. He said, I went to the wedding, I danced, I said Mazal Tov nicely, I invited them to my house even, and whatever, but it never made sense to me. He said, but about half a year after the wedding, I come to shul one night, and I see this guy learning, and not just learning with the whole cheshik and the whole atmada. And I said, wait a second, this is the guy who 6 months ago didn't look like this was his interest at all. So what did she see that I didn't see? She's a young kid. I have experience. What did she see that I didn't see? He said he couldn't control himself. He went to the guy. I wouldn't do that. That's not always so. He went to the guy. He told him, buddy, you're a changed man in the past half a year. Of course, he did it in a joking way, so it shouldn't insult anybody. But he said, yeah, I'm a changed man. So he said, what changed? He said, let me tell you what changed. So my friend set me up with this girl. Why she agreed to go out with me, only Hashem knows. He said, it makes no sense. She could have gotten any top yeshiva boy out there. There's no logic whatsoever. But she agreed. I didn't know who she was. If I would have known who she was, and that she's like a top 8 Yaakov, I would have said, it's not for me. But we ended up starting going out. And then I said to myself, wait a second, my friends are going out with these girls that God knows what they're up to at night. And always worried about problems and stories and shalom. And here's a tzaddik with a good heart, with everything. I was interested in continuing, but she quickly realized that maybe I'm lacking a little bit. It's not working out so well. So one day she asked me one question. If this was ever to end up in a marriage, would you be willing to at least go commit to learn basic Torah? To know the basics, maraks, poskim, some of the basics. And he said, if I found the right arrangement, I have nothing against it. So I can't tell you I'm into it, but I would definitely give it a shot. Then we ended up getting engaged. So a week after the wedding, she didn't tell me a word. But on my own, I knew I promised I would learn more and whatever. So I started looking for a shul that I can go study in the morning a little bit. I found some synagogue. I went in. The first day I went in, this rabbi would give a halacha shiur every morning, 15 minutes after shacharit. I said, I liked it. So I suddenly felt connected. I knew what was going on. He said, I never understood why we do things on holidays, what this is about. Suddenly I started learning more. So then I decided I want to start learning at night. So I went to my wife and I told her, I want to learn at night. Do you agree? Because the first year you're supposed to be home at night. So she said, of course I agree. There's nothing that'll make me happier. Go learn. He said, let me tell you what happened. I was 2.5, 3 weeks after my wedding. I started learning at night with some program, whatever, that he found in Israel, that he would join some program. And I would get home at 10 o'clock every night. And at 10 o'clock every night, she was waiting in the house with freshly baked either cake or cookies or this or that every night. And I used to ask her, what's this about? I'm gaining a little too much weight. This is not, She said, what are you talking about? You learned tonight. It means you worked hard. And what did you learn? You learned Hashem's Torah. That's a reason to celebrate. It's a party. So in this house, every night's a party. You know what a powerful girl you have to be to stick to that consistently for 6 months straight? He said, by now I don't need that bribe anymore. But one thing I'll tell you, it put into me such ahavat Torah that today when I close the Gemara at 10 o'clock at night to go back home, I feel like as if somebody's sticking a knife into me and killing me. This is to the point that I'm in the middle of structuring that I should be able to get out of my business and whatever and just go back to Kol and goodbye. That's the influence when you're surrounded by positive people. When you're surrounded by negative people, the opposite happens. What's a bigger chiddush? That it's not only the physical people that you're surrounded by, it's what you see, what you watch, which is more applicable today. When you go to a movie that's a horror movie, or you go to a movie that is murder and theft and God knows what else, guess what? That's who you surrounded yourself by. And one day you're going to become one of those. If not in this world, in the next world. You didn't see anything positive there. All you saw there was hate and anger and pain and crooked and everything against Hashem. And this is who you're surrounding. This is your celebrities. There's a very famous story. I heard this from the person involved. He's not alive anymore. Shlomo Lawrence, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. So he said over, many, many years ago, right when Chinuch Atzmai started, I don't know if it's the exact number of years ago, but Chinuch Atzmai exists definitely over 55 years, that I know for sure. So we're talking about a long time ago. In Israel, there wasn't enough religious kids to open schools. Right? Schools have, the financial dynamic has to make sense. So you need a certain amount of kids per class to justify paying a teacher. If you have 4 kids in a class, there's no way to pay the teacher. The math doesn't work. That's even if they do pay tuition. Forget about when they don't. So normally, I don't know, it depends where, which city, what the prices are, whatever, and I think the global average right now is 28 kids per classroom for the economics to actually work. In a younger age, in like preschool, it's even more expensive because you need more assistants and whatever, so the cost per kid is much higher. So either you need larger classrooms, which is not so good for the kids, or you need higher tuition or more government subsidies or whatever it is. But to open a preschool for 4 or 5 kids, that's for sure not doable. It doesn't work. The numbers just don't work if you're providing a normal service, of course. So there was a town that's called Ramat Gan. It's the outskirts of Bnei Brak. And then some Orthodox Jews started living there a little bit. But it wasn't that many. Today Ramat Gan's full of Orthodox Jews. Half of Ramat Gan's probably Orthodox. Bnei Brak pretty much took it over. But years ago, Chazon Ish lived in Bnei Brak. And they had a problem. There was a few young boys that needed a gan, it's called, one of these preschools. And the Iriyah, the city, only pays for the child care if you go in your city. If you send your kid to a different city, then they don't pay for it anymore. That's number one. Number two, you're not going to transport a 3-year-old half an hour in traffic every day there and back. He's going to come home crazy. So they went into the Chazon Ish. They told him like this. Between the religious kids and the not so religious kids and the traditional kids, we have enough to open up a new gan, a classroom, a class for preschool. But should we do it or not? We don't want to send our kids with those kids. And maybe they don't want to send their kids with our kids either. Should we even entertain this idea or should we not entertain the idea? When I heard this story, I made an assumption right away, when I didn't hear the end of the story yet, that the Chazon Ish said, of course not. And I was already waiting to hear the Chazon Ish said, Mesirut Nefesh for Torah, be a hero, take the kid all the way to Bnei Brak and this. That's what I was expecting to hear. Guess what? That's not what happened. The Chazon Ish told Rav Shlomo Lawrence, tell him to open up the school, the gan, and have a regular mixed class, only boys, but of all types, all family backgrounds, all styles, all everything. Not only that, let the majority, which aren't religious, pick the curriculum. Don't even say what should be in the curriculum. But make them one condition, that every single picture that'll either be handed out to a child to draw or be hung up on the wall of the classroom, that the 3 Orthodox parents choose. Everything else is theirs, just the pictures you pick. And then the Chazon Ish went, then it wasn't even shekels yet, it was called lirot, I think. He took out 20 lirot from his pocket, that's not much money. And he handed it to the person, to the rabbi, and he told him, and use this money to buy your first picture. This rabbi was a shrewd man, he walked out, he didn't understand why the Chazon Ish said what he said, but if the Chazon Ish says, Kodesh Kodashim, right? You don't argue on the Chazon Ish, you have to be an idiot to argue on the Chazon Ish. Even if it makes no sense. If what the Chazon Ish told you made no sense, the problem is by you, not by the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish was Da'at Torah. You're not Da'at Torah, so the problem is by you. It's just like when a doctor tells me to take antibiotics because my leg is hurting. I say, why would I put it in my mouth if my leg is hurting? But he went to medical school and maybe I didn't. So I listened to him. The Chazon Ish went to Hashem's school. He knew Torah. So if he said, he knew what he was saying. Now if it doesn't make sense, okay, the problem's by you. Congrats. Not impressed. So Lawrence left, and he said, Chazon Ish said, that's what we're doing. But he said, 20 lirot ain't going to get us even one picture. The Chazon Ish must have not really known finance that well when it comes to how much things cost. He said, definitely not going to solve decorating a classroom. So what should he do? He needs more money. So he thought of a brilliant idea. He was a shrewd guy, he was a seicher. When he walked out of Chazon Ish's house, he saw a Ger Chassid standing outside waiting to get into the Chazon Ish for a blessing. He went over to this Chassid and told him, if I would tell you that I have 20 lirot that the Ger Rebbe just gave me, how much money would you pay to get that bill for me? So he told him 10,000 lirot. And he said, probably even more. Probably even pay more than that. So he told him. He said, wait a second. Your Rebbe is the Ger Rebbe. And anyway, you're standing outside the door of the Chazon Ish. That means that you think that the Chazon Ish is equally, if not more holy than the Ger Rebbe, right? He says, I'm not the rabbi ratings, but they're definitely in the same picture. Otherwise, you'd be going to your Rebbe. He said, yeah, not only that, it was actually the Ger Rebbe that sent me to the Chazon Ish. He said, aha. And he pulls out the 20 lirot and he says, I have a bill of 20 lirot that the Chazon Ish just gave me, and he told him the story. How much do you want to pay for it? He got lucky. This guy was a wealthy man. He said, all the expenses of this gun for the first 3 years, whatever's needed for your pictures and decorations or whatever, it's all on me. Give me the bill. Rav Lawrence later on wrote in one of the books that he wrote that all the kids that were in the first 3 years of that school, later on they opened a separate school, Chinuch Atzmoy opened up, came out to be Bnei Torah, including the ones that the fathers were kibbutznikim. That means they were left-wing, socialist, anti-religious people. I never understood the story until I saw this Avot Rabbi Natan. This is very simple why. They surrounded young children with an environment of the greatest tzaddikim. Maybe not physically, but at least visually. So what did the child see when he was 3 years old? He saw a tzaddik. So what did he become when he was 30 years old? A tzaddik. Today we have a pandemic of young boys and girls that don't see the beauty in Torah. Now, why is it like that? I don't know. Whatever you'll say is right, because unfortunately all the reasons are true. And as parents, we worry about our kids. We panic, and rightfully so. What's going to be? So the Chazon Ish didn't give us a flawless solution, but at least something. When the child's a newborn already, when he's a baby, put into his crib pictures of tzaddikim. Let him wake up every morning seeing pictures of tzaddikim. Cover his bedroom, the side of his bed, with pictures of rabbis. And don't get the cheap ones, because then he learns the rabbis are cheap. Get the nicest ones. Nice plaques that look nice and big. And this kid should grow up with pride, saying, this is what I see. This is what I see. And by default, he's going to associate in his brain, that's what I want to be. Some parents aren't so smart, and what's hanging in their kid's room. I have to be careful what I say, I don't want it to sound racial. But every guy who's 6'6" and a basketball player, and his head is empty completely, and he's probably a lowlife too on many fronts, that's what's hanging in the room. And then they wonder why the kid became a drug addict later on. That's all he saw. So of course he became that. Those were his heroes. Those crazy people were his heroes. I said this in a shiur once, I want to say it again, but I think it was a lot of years ago. When I was a young kid, I was a sports fan. Since then, I hate sports with a passion. All professional sports, I'm allergic to. But I was a big sports fan. On the phone and on this and on that. We didn't have a television at home, at least that, thank God. So it was to listen on the radio. It was mamash mesirut nefesh, because the radio didn't really work so well. It was like fuzzy and staticky and annoying, but every game, it was like to listen to every peep and every that. It was crazy. And in America, there's no end, because you got baseball season, which is like half the year. And it's like senior citizen season, right? That's the same thing. And then basketball season and hockey season. There was a time that hockey was still fun. And football season. And by now there's other sports too, but just those four. It takes up your whole year pretty much, right? And some overlap each other. So there's some nights that you could do chazarat shiur. You listen to one game and then another game and then that. And then afterwards there's the commentators after the game. And the commentators before the game. It's a full-time job. From the minute I got home from school until I fell asleep by default, this was it. This one and that one. I knew every guy of color's name. This guy and that guy and the other guy, every psycho's name, all of them. I knew them all. One day, there was this one guy, I don't want to say his name because I don't want lawsuits and whatever. I heard that he's been suing people that say over these stories about him today. He's still alive, in that case. He was a basketball player, and I used to swear by him. That was like an avodah zarah to me. If somebody wanted to ask me, who's like a giant in my life, that was the guy. So I wanted to see him. And my parents weren't rich, they couldn't buy me courtside tickets to games. I had no access. So I consulted with my friends. Had a lot of wisecrack friends in school. And one of my friends said he figured it all out. I said, oh yeah? What did you figure out? He said that today they land in private airports already, but then they still landed in commercial airports. It was cheaper, and the teams didn't have the budgets they have today. So this team is landing on certain days, and there's a way to get the schedule in an airport that's like 45-minute drive from the house where I lived. And if you go to the airport at this time and you wait in this place and you get there early, so you got a front spot, so then you could see them coming out, and sometimes you get lucky, they'll sign an autograph or this or that. No, Vayhi Hayom, we found exactly the day and the time. I remember we had to leave the house at like 3:30 in the morning to go do this insanity. And we went, him and I and a few other guys, and one of the parents agreed to drive us. I don't know what they were thinking that they agreed to this craziness. We go to the airport, and we were from the Asara Rishonim L'Havdil. From the first 10, we had to get there right away because we got to be in the front row, box seating. We went. We waited, I don't know how long, but at least an hour, it was probably more. Finally, they come out, so one player comes out, another one, and these guys have an ego, so they come out one at a time. They're dead tired, they're dying to go home, but they come out one at a time for the paparazzi guys. Each one with his. So, like 5 or 6 players in, this guy who I looked up to finally comes out. A couple of guys before me over there, and everybody's like either trying to get an autograph or there was little selfies back then, whatever it is, try it. And he gets up to where me and my friends were, and we stick out our hands like, then we used to call it slap skin. And he looks me in the eyes. I was the first one of the 4 boys standing there. And he says, I'm sorry, but I don't slap skin with Jews. And that wasn't an isolated incident. I know other people had similar incidents with this guy, and that's why I know not to say his name, because he's been suing people lately that wrote things about him, about that he's an anti-Semite. But this is what happened. That was the last day that I cared about sports. I said, I idolize somebody who hates me? Who won't even shake my hand? This is what I do? How sick and stupid can I be? There gotta be a limit to stupidity. Some limit there gotta be to stupidity. There's like a red line to insanity at one point or the other. That was it. Couldn't care less. Adarabah, I dedicate every year, right before Elul, 3 chapters of Tehillim, one Shabbat morning, that the Yankees should lose quickly and shouldn't make it to the playoffs. Unfortunately, this year they did make it, because then a lot of Jewish kids during Elul, instead of going to Slichot, are busy watching Yankee games. So if they lose quickly and they're out and goodbye, so there's more of a chance they'll come pray. And once I said that, and somebody got very angry at me, and he said, how can you even talk about sports and that? It's not a Jewish thing. We should forget it exists. So I told him, I don't know. Let's ask my Rebbe, see what he says. So my Rebbe said, I don't know anything about sports, but if it was up to me, I would say Tehillim that all the tri-state area teams should always be bad. Maybe then the boys would learn instead of wasting time at night. Let me tell you in those words. I think his blessing kind of happened. Right? The Giants are not I. The Knicks, you could say Zalan, that's over. The Yankees, got the best punishment you can get. Come in second place, as they say, get almost there and then fail. Then the New York, Jersey already gave up on their teams practically. Right? They give them away already because they're not worth anything. And I think that was the Adam Gadol said it out of his mouth. And there are stories like that, by the way. There are real stories like the Lay that said about teams they won't win for this amount of time, and it happened exactly like that. There's one story that I verified. Shiva in Cleveland once said that about the local team over there, because he came into Night Seder and he saw the boys weren't there, and they asked him why not. He said because everybody's watching a game. He said, what game? He said, basketball. What? Playoffs. He said, for 50 years they shouldn't win. And he said out of frustration. And it took them 51 years to win another championship. Exactly what he said. It's a shame he didn't say for 100 years, What's the idea here? The idea is not sports. Sports actually, out of all things, is a more kosher entertainment. At least there's no garbage there. But it's a deeper concept. It's a much deeper concept. It's who do you look up to? Who are your role models? Who do you surround yourself with? If you're going to surround yourself with lowlifes and these are going to be your role models, you're going to be a lowlife. It's that simple. And even if somehow miraculously you didn't end up becoming one, in Olam Haba, that's what they're going to consider you. Because you're guilty by association. If you're going to surround yourself with people that are on a much higher level than you, then even if you weren't such a tzaddik, you weren't ayayay. In Olam Haba, you're going to be a big, big tzaddik. Hashem is going to give you notel sachar kemaasehem. How beautiful it is. How amazing it is to see in some communities the kavod that they have for chachamim. It's really unreal. I witness this in many communities, and I don't want to say names because then I feel bad. I forgot to say this one, I forgot to say that one, but in South America, for example, and Latin America, there are a lot of Jewish communities that are very generous, and charity-wise. One I will say, because their whole legacy is charity, Panama. The Jewish community in Panama, they live and die charity. That's what they live for. They wake up in the morning to give charity. It's literally to that extreme. I have friends that are extremely wealthy, and they go to work in the morning saying, Hashem, we're going to work to give out money. That's why they wake up in the morning. Their biggest pleasure in life is not to fly in their fancy jets and go to their crazy vacations. It's to support yeshivot. That's what they live for. They literally live for that. It's an amazing thing. I once remember one of my friends, we went together, we were away for 2 days, we went to Ki'ilu vacation, what vacation? He wanted to pick my brain on something, so he took me on what he called vacation and I called torture for 2 days. And after 2 days he said, okay, I think we should go back home now. So I said, okay, gladly on my end, but why on your end? So he said, because I didn't give charity for 2 days already, I feel like I'm dying. Even if he didn't mean it, just to be able to say such a thing shows where you're holding in life. It's unreal. But it's not just what they give. The Gemara says that somebody's mefayesen ani bidvarim, it's 11 times greater in blessing. The respect that they have for chachamim is unreal. When a rabbi, a big Rosh Yeshiva, somebody comes from Israel to Panama, for example, and again, there's many other communities like this. I'm not coming to knock anybody else. There's many communities that are like this. They fight. Who's going to drive him? Where's he going to... The guy could be worth $1 billion and he becomes a driver. I'm driving the rabbi today. You have 40 drivers. You don't drive to the grocery yourself. Send one of your drivers for him. No. The chacham we have to respect. Making coffee, serve him, this. They all become waiters, bus boys, janitors, everything you want. All in one. These are guys that never made their own coffee in their life. I don't know how they know how to make it for the rabbis. Maybe they look up on YouTube how to make coffee. That's probably what they do, by the way. They never lifted a finger in their life. Over there also help at home is very cheap. $10 a day, you got a maid at least. Some of these countries, $10 a day, you got a crew of maids. So you don't have to lift a finger. It's nothing about, that's even without being rich. But Chacham, Goya is going to make for the Chacham. Chas v'shalom, that's what they tell me. Chas v'shalom. The Goya is going to make for the Chacham. I'm the farthest thing from the Chacham. But I was once by one of these guys' places. And he told me, do you want to stay in a hotel? Because some rabbis prefer to stay in a hotel because it's more private and whatever. Or in a house. I said, honestly, personally, I prefer in this case a house. I prefer a house. So he decided that it's not nice to put me in a house with people. Because maybe I want privacy. So he vacated one of his apartments in the building. Then furnished it. And then put me in there. I said, are you off your rockers? What's wrong with you? He said, what do you mean? Basic respect? He looked at me like I'm crazy. That night, I asked him what the code to the Wi-Fi is in the house. So of course he told me. And then he said it might not work so well. I'm going to try and find a technician at night to put a repeater or this or that, I don't know all the terms. And then he came downstairs to visit me at night, and he tells me, I want to ask you something. I thought that in Lakewood you guys don't do internet. What do you need Wi-Fi for? He was friends with me. So I told him, let me tell you why. Because you gave me a beautiful apartment, and there's chandeliers, and couches, and beds, and furniture. Gorgeous, unbelievable. With a view, porches all outside, and everything. But there's no Sfarim. And I like to learn. So if you give me the code to Wi-Fi, I can go onto this website it's called HebrewBooks.org, and I can download a Masechet in the Gemara, and I can sit and learn tonight. By the next time I came back over there to his house, which wasn't much later, my next trip, there was already a full bookcase built with who knows how many Sfarim. They hired some yeshiva boy to tell him what Sfarim to buy that possibly I could want to learn. And I'm not a Chacham. Imagine what they do for the Chachamim. That's why they succeed in life. And that's why you see a young generation of these Latin American kids that are the top boys in yeshivot. I go into Chevron, into Ponovich, into Chavedat, and I see top boys from Venezuela, from Mexico, from Panama. I'm talking about guys that know Shas when they're 20 years old. Their mothers don't even cover their hair until today. How's it possible? Because what these kids grow up seeing, that the world stops when the Chacham shows up. There's no work, there's no day, there's no night, there's no nothing. The rabbi's here. When these kids grew up to that exposure, and that's who they saw, their parents consider the people that they look up to most, even if the parents didn't do such mitzvahs, maybe they didn't keep a lot at all. But the kid in his life said, that's what's important. That's what I want to be like. And then they went out to Olam HaYeshivot and became superstars. Real superstars. You could say the same thing about the community in Brooklyn. When my dad got married, I don't know if there was a handful of Sephardic women in the whole United States of America that were willing to cover their hair. I don't know if it existed. All the old Sephardi rabbis in America, I don't know all, but the vast majority, married Ashkenaz wives for that reason. Because they were willing to cover their hair. That's how it happened. My mother's Ashkenaz because she was willing to cover her hair. Today, you walk into any big synagogue in Brooklyn, 300 guys learning at night, 500 guys learning at night, 100 guys learning at night, 50 guys learning at night, depending on the size of the synagogue and what their membership is. Crazy numbers. Bli Ayin Hara should always grow. And packed, and they're learning at a will, not because somebody forced them. Nobody forces nobody to do anything. Nobody even says anything. They just offer. There's a Gemara class, boom, sold out. There's Chamrutot, sold out. Anytime, all the time. Of course, the rabbis gave their lives for this and spoke about it and encouraged and helped and taught and everything. There's no doubt about it. We don't want to take away from their credit, even one drop. But there was a bigger credit. That the senior rabbis that are no longer alive, with their great vision, saw we can't win the battles of the details because the people are not going to listen to us. Let's win one battle. Kavod Chachamim. That when the Chachamim come to their offices, they should stop what they're doing to take them in and to respect them and to feed them and to give them money. When the Chachamim come to the weddings, as long as they're there, they should keep the wedding in a way that the rabbi could stay. Let's put into their DNA Kvod Chachamim. One woman once told me, I have a rabbi's outfit. I said, what's a rabbi's outfit? She said, I don't dress modestly, but when the Chachamim come, I'm not going to walk around not modest. So I have a wardrobe for the days the Chachamim come to the house. I said, you know what? I'm going to look for a Chacham in Israel who's like a widower and older. I'm going to tell him to move in permanently. Like this, you'll dress modest. Happens to be that sentence hit her so hard from that day on, she dressed modest already. Suddenly she realized, wait a second, for the rabbi, yeah, and for Hashem, no? How does that make sense? It's crazy. But when these Chachamim saw with their great wisdom, that if we teach the Kahal to surround themselves with Torah sages and to respect them, even if they're living a life that's the farthest thing from it, what they really obtained was the ability to turn them around. The ability to change everything about them. There's an amazing story that I read 2 weeks ago in some sort of Parsha pamphlet that I got. I like reading, so anything somebody sends me, especially if it's Torah oriented, I don't even ask who, what, when. I just read and read and read because you never know what you're going to get from where. So it was, I think it was it was Parshat Bereshit. So one of my buddies gave me a pamphlet and he said, in here there's all different, it's called in Hebrew Alonim, there's some nice ones, maybe you want to have a look. I said, sure, thank you. So I had a look, it was Friday night, I'm reading, and I came across a story. I don't think I said it. If I did, stop me, so I shouldn't waste your time. But I came across a story about Chama Yosef. I think they wrote it in honor of his upcoming, it was last week the Yotzai, right? So they probably wrote, then Beishit was right before, so they wrote it in honor of it, whatever. And it shows how respect for Chachamim impacts a person. It's an amazing thing. I'm reading this thing. Chama used to speak in these huge stadiums. Because, there was high demand to hear him speak. especially when it was political season and elections and or slichot season or lavdil, or that, huge stadiums. So over there they bring down a story that one day he was in a stadium and he was coming up to walk up to sit down where he was sitting before he spoke. And everybody wanted to get to him. He wasn't young at that point. So it was dangerous. God forbid, an older man, people get, it could cause. So they would hire these security companies, these big, strong guys. They would make a human barrier around him so nobody should, God forbid, push. Chavadi was a man of great gratitude, like every Talmid Chacham is. And when he got to his seat, he stopped. And he turned to the security guys, even though they were getting paid. And one by one, he took their hands, rubbed them, said, thank you for watching over me, for helping me get to where I have to be, for this, one by one. The way it was written in that thing that I read, some of them were Safek Jews even. We don't even know if they were Jewish or not. They didn't write it that way. They wrote bluntly what it is, but I don't want to get into trouble with half the world, so I'm not going to say. But Chavadi has a lot of tshuvot about different people in Israel if they're considered Jews or not, al pi halacha. And one guy who's getting a thank you speech from him tells him, Rabbi, I don't get it. I'm getting paid for this. If I didn't do it, I get fired. There's 15,000 people in Yad Eliyahu now. You got to stop the whole thing to give me a whole thank you speech? Chavadi said, yeah, karat tov. What do you mean? He said, number two, what's your logic? That there's 15,000 people waiting? These 15,000 people wouldn't have me to speak if you didn't bring me here safely. If something happened to me along the way, then I wouldn't be able to say anything. And then Chavadi turns to him with his wisdom and he tells him, so think about it. When I'm going to speak now, 15,000 people here are going to listen. And on top of that, who knows how many tens of thousands are going to hear the recordings later on or hear or it's going to be written in the newspapers and the magazines what I said. You know who really gets credit for it? It's all you. Because you got me here safely. The guy is the one who wrote this story in this weekly parasha pamphlet. He says 10 years later, he has a regular frum house. His wife's a regular frum lady. His kids go to El Amayan, that's Chavadi's chain of yeshivot in Israel, of schools in Israel. And he says it was all from that one sentence. He said, I saw a rabbi who's a celebrity man, who the whole Jewish world looks up to, who's the most powerful figure in the world, who even though I'm getting paid to do a job to protect him, went and turned me into such a hero. He said, there was no way I could stand by that. He said, I went home that night, I turned to my wife, I said, it's over, it's done. That's it. Whatever this man says is what we're doing. We started buying his Sfarim, started listening to his speeches, we put the satellite into the house to hear his speech on the Yazdim every Saturday night. Anything he taught us, we learned. We did it automatically. He said, kids yeshivot, the next week, kids yeshivot. This, everything on the spot. Would have the guy done it otherwise? Probably not. He would have died a Mechalel Shabbat. What changed him? Obviously, Chavadi is great wisdom. But besides for that, what changed him? He was surrounded, even for 1 minute, by a tzaddik. Just being surrounded for 1 minute by a tzaddik could impact your life forever. That's why Avraham Avinu had to run away from Lot. He said, it doesn't make a difference how much kiruv I do. And it doesn't make a difference that I revealed God in the world. And it doesn't make a difference that I was willing to sacrifice later on, that he was willing to sacrifice his son on the altar. And all the greatness of Avraham Avinu. If I'm going to be near Rasha, it's all going to collapse. It's not going to hold up. And that's why got to differentiate. Now, I'm not saying halacha l'maaseh. Of course, there's situations where family members that whatever, and we have to, everybody should ask their own rabbi exactly what to do in every situation. And obviously, I'm not saying anything against Jews and Ramech Chulam Tzadikim. They all mean well and they don't know better. And Hashem should help they should all find the right way. And I want to stress that nobody should take this the wrong way. But at the same time, we should try to find a good crowd to surround yourselves with. Try to find people that are up to better than you to surround yourselves with. Because that's exactly what's going to bring you to the greatest point. I'll tell you even more than that. As parents, if we have the opportunity to take our kids to see a tzaddik, grab it. even at the expense of missing school. So he missed a day of school. What's going to happen? The world didn't end. It's fine. I'm not sure how much they're learning in school these days anyway. Definitely not productive stuff. Sometimes I see these homework questions. I say, you got to be a rocket scientist to answer this. What do they want from a kid in 6th grade? Leave them alone. And when it's a girl, she's patur from Talmud Torah. How many times in the Navi does it say this thing according to this Meforash for this reason? Huh? How about teaching how to cook, bake? Some more practical things in life. How to smile, that would be the most practical thing in life. I don't know. I'll tell you the truth. My mother and I had 11 children. I never saw, and I'm the oldest of the 11. I never saw my mother changing diapers talking about the Navi. Not once. I never saw her feeding us supper talking about the Navi. Not once. Nothing. Maybe that's why we grew up okay. Because when she went to school, they taught her to be a mother, not to be a scientist. Today, the mothers are taught to be scientists. So the kids are science projects. Those of you who know about science research, most science projects and research and development fail. So most kids fail. That's the way it is. Very, very simple. My mother doesn't have a PhD in anything. I don't even think she has a bachelor's degree. Nothing. She had one thing. She was a Yiddish mama, a Jewish mother. So we grew up okay. So the kid missed a day of school, knew what happened, so the principal's in a bad mood, so put him on Prozac. Maybe that would help our kids today, to put some principals on Prozac. But you take him to see a tzaddik, he sees a tzaddik, he sees 20,000 people, 15,000 people, 10,000 people that are crowded in a room looking at the face of a holy man. 40 years later, that's going to still stay in his head. He'll see who's a real celebrity, who's somebody who's really worth looking up to. Without you saying a word. When you talk to him, you're preaching. He's not interested. He doesn't listen. But here you showed him. You showed him a true Jewish value. When my kids came to me when the Sklener Rebbe Zechat Tzaddik Kadosh V'chad passed away, and his kids took over, Sheibadlu Chaim Tovim, they're all tzaddikim, such special people. One of them's my neighbor on the block. And he became Rebbe. You know, his father died, he became Rebbe. And the kids told me the first week, they're making a tish, they want to go. I said, run. I said, and there's no curfew, no nothing. Come back as late as you want. Any time of the night, come back. I said, you're going to the tish of a tzaddik? We're Sfaradim, we don't have tishes. But so what? They're going to go see the face of a tzaddik, in their eyes they're going to see the Kvod Torah, people respecting somebody. I think it was my youngest, maybe it was another one, that the next day was telling me, describing me what he saw and what did. And I was, it was nice to hear. And then he said, but I don't know anything about this rabbi, even though he says my neighbor. So I said, let me tell you something about this rabbi. I'm going to tell you one incident. It was before Pesach, and one of his close people, I can obviously have to cover up some of the details of the story, called me up and said, I just want to notify you that the rabbi's wife went to the grocery store and they didn't agree to sell her food because her account balance is way too high. That's before Pesach. I said, okay, don't worry about it. 5 minutes is taken care of. Whoever the person that feels comfortable telling her, just tell her to go back, she's going to be able to buy whatever she wants. That's not the subject now. But I went to his students, because I'm not a student, and I said, guys, you don't take care of your rabbi? I said, what do you mean? I said, his wife didn't have money for food. He said, you know how many tens of thousands of dollars we give him a week? Not a month, a week. I said, okay, and? So one of his students got a little bit upset. He said, I got to go ask the rabbi what's going on. And he went into this rabbi, and this is what he came back telling me. I'm blown away. I'm just blown away. The rabbi said, yeah, I know you guys give me a lot, and you take care of me, you're such special people. But I was raised in a house that we give everything away. So there's never anything left. So they give him tens of thousands of dollars a week sometimes, but by the end of the week, there's nothing left because he gave it all away. So for his own family, he doesn't have money now to buy milk. So I looked at my kid and I said, now you understand what a tzaddik you went to see? I said, now you understand? I said, is there anybody alive today that could say that about himself? Maybe the Tasher Rebbe of Montreal could be. I've seen things like that by him. But it doesn't exist. These are unheard of concepts. And the father, Zechat Tzadik Livracha, 1,000 times over, His whole project in life was called Chesed L'Avraham. This is what he was busy with, Chesed all day long. You know what an impact that makes on people when they see such a thing, when they're exposed to such a thing? And here I give one more eitzah, and with this I conclude. Another way of surrounding yourself with tzaddikim is learning to read biographies of tzaddikim. You have time to read every stupid novel that comes out, which is a total waste of time. You have time to watch every dumb movie that comes out, which poisons your soul and your brain. You have time to do everything else, but to read a biography of a tzaddik, you don't have time. It's too hard. There's so many beautiful biographies of tzaddikim that are put out today, written so well, and now with baloney stories, that are written by good authors that verify every detail and everything. Now you're surrounded by a tzaddik. He's living with you. You got him by your side. In Avot Rabbi Natan, it says you're going to come up to Shamayim, they're going to sit you right near him in Gan Eden. Notnim lo sachar k'ma'asehem. They give you reward. They give you reward, like his actions. And I said this once in a shir a few weeks ago, and I'm going to say it again because I want to push this until every last Jew in the world does this. There's a great book that came out a few months ago about the Holy Tasher Rebbe, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, and it's a must-read for every Jew alive, of every age. It's written in a very easy way, even a 10-year-old could read it. You go to a bookstore, spend $20. If you can't afford it, come to me. I'll gladly give you the $20. Go buy it and see what it means to be a tzaddik. And I'm not a Tasha Chosid, so I'm not biased, right? If anything, I would promote my own books of my own rabbis. But that was I'm just saying because it's a recent book that's written in English about a tzaddik that gives us perspective on life. We're surrounded, then you become surrounded. Then you become blessed by the blessing of these holy people. Then you develop a connection with these holy people. There's a spiritual and emotional connection. And just because everybody likes bribes today, I'm going to bribe you to do this, to listen and go buy this book. It was something crazy. I said this in a shir. It was August. It was by the Yortzeit time that I said it in a shir. I think I even picked up the book and showed it and said, here's a book that I bought. It was a great book. Go buy it. It seems like one of my viewers in Israel decided that they're going to listen. And they went to buy it a week later, or a few days later, or whatever it was. And then I get a WhatsApp message. I don't know exactly, but let's say 2 weeks after that, the guy finished reading the book, and he sends me a message. He said, thank you for the recommendation of the book. It was amazing. I was so touched by it and this and that. It's such a shame that I don't travel to America anymore because I would love to go to Canada to his caver. So I wrote back to him, why? One word, why? So he said, because after reading such a book, I feel a connection with the tzaddik. So I want to go daven for a few things. So I told him, so I wrote back to him, I go a lot. Send me an email with a paper of what your requests are. I'll stick it by the... I said, it's not like you going, but it's better than nothing. That much it is. So he said, fine, he's going to send it. That's what he tells me. He calls me 2 days later. This was in writing. He calls me. I didn't recognize the number, but I saw a number from Israel. I figured it's probably important that I picked up. I picked up the phone, and I didn't know his voice or anything, so he had to say, I'm the guy who spoke to you, whatever, with the Tasha book, and that. He says, I got to give you a good story. I said, give me a good story, but I'm going to save it for a good time. I was going to save it for the Yortzeit next year, but we're going to release it now already. He says, I was going to send you an email with the paper, like you said. He said, I didn't get around to it, but in the meantime, I wanted to do something. He said, so that night, after I was writing with you, but you was afternoon, maybe it was night, before I went to sleep, I put some money in a charity box, and I said, Shavi Lilu Nishmat, HaMeshum Fayish Ben Amot Chavetzira Levi, the Tasher Rebbe, and I lit a candle, and I prayed for something very personal that I needed. He said, and the personal thing that I needed is, I have a teenage son, although Aleinu is what they call off the derech. There's no such thing, by the way. Off the derech means you have no derech. Off the derech is you're off the way. There is no off the way. You're either on the road or you're nobody. But there's no, I don't know where that stupid term came from. I would rather say, not shomed Torah or mitzvot yet. He's going through teenage years, that's normal, that's what happens. He said, and it eats my heart out, but at the same time, we tried all different things and I don't know, it's not working. He said, so I davened. And I said, Rebbe, I read in the book a story that you helped a boy like this and that, so if you're able to do it when you were alive, you're able to do it from Shamayim. And if I was able to, I would come to your grave. Unfortunately, I'm not able to. So please, whatever you can do. Go to God, whatever it is, do what you can. And then I went to sleep. When I went to sleep, I had a dream. The Tasha Rebbe came to me and said, don't worry. And disappeared. He says, now that dream obviously is not credible, because I was thinking about it. So, when you think about something, you dream about it, the Gemara says clearly that has no credibility. He says, but what's crazy? The next morning, a few hours later, it's not even, he wakes up, this guy wakes up for Vatikin every morning. I woke up to pray Vatikin, and I see my son sitting in the dining room. I figured he just came home from hanging out with his friends or whatever. That was normal in my house. But I see one thing's different. He's dressed in a button-down shirt. Not that I'm saying that it makes a difference what shirt a teenager wears. And he has his talit and tefillin. He said, I didn't see him holding a talit and tefillin for months. Years, maybe. And he tells me, Dad, I want to come to shul with you. If you don't mind, I'm going to come with you. He said, and I was so shocked that I didn't know how to respond. So I told him, why would you want to do that? Which is the stupidest thing to say. Finally, he wants to do something good. Just smile and take him. But I guess he was caught off guard. He didn't know how to deal with it. And my son told me, I don't know why myself, but I have this burning desire to go to shul. And he tells me this happened yesterday. He said, today the same thing happened again, so I know it's not a coincidence. So it must have been that the Tasha Rebbe did a good job in Shammai. So I told him, listen, I don't know. I'm not God. I don't know what goes on in the heavenly courts. So I can't respond. What do you want me to respond to the story? What I could tell you is, it says in Avot Rabbi Natan that when you surround yourself by tzaddikim and ma'asehem and their actions, then Hashem gives you a reward like the tzaddikim and ma'asehem. And to you, what was important was that your son should do the righteous actions. Hashem gave you a reward that your son does righteous actions. That's the power of being surrounded by good people. The Baruch should help. Smol ve'emina v'mayamin v'asmila. We should disassociate ourselves from Resha from once and for all, and we should stay connected to good and positive Be'ez Hashem. And niskeh lebiat goel b'merav yameinu. Amen ve'amen.